Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Monday. It's April 24th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And just looking real quickly at the daily chart, it's just more of the same. We're just chopping sideways here. It looked like a really bullish day. Of course, this last day looked really bullish, and we did close near the highs, but actually the market's not quite closed. It's only 3:15, so we could close higher, or we could close back down, and this could even end up being a neutral day. My guess is we're not going to see much more movement. The volume is really dried up considerably, and the volatility is very has dropped very much as well. It's dropped considerably as well. So, I don't know what that means. If this is an ongoing thing or just a temporary thing. I mean, it looked like the high volatility was here to stay for for good, but now we see it kind of tapering off a little bit, and it just could be a little lull here in the markets. It could mean that we're finally going to see the market go back to a much slower and more normal pre-COVID type market again. I just don't know at this point. It's just hard to say. I'm not sure what to expect, to be honest with you. Um, but needless to say, the volatility and the volume has dropped considerably. So um, we continue to kind of try to push higher here, but it looks like we have this channel working up, and we do have a close outside. Retest of the high could send us lower again. So, and that would kind of fit with this chart that we're just kind of working sideways here now. So we'll see what the tomorrow brings, but I'm guessing it's going to be more of the same. We're going to chop sideways to maybe slightly up. We could push and turn on down, but it just doesn't look like we're ready to go lower yet to me. So we'll wait and see what happens. But let's flip over to the 2,000 tick intraday chart. You can see it looks like a range day, and right now it looks like we're going to try to close near the high. So again, that could change before 4 o'clock gets here. Still 40 minutes, 40 plus minutes to go before the market closes. So things could still change, although I don't expect we'll see much change. So let's flip over there and take a look, and we'll go through the trades and we'll wrap today up. Okay, real quickly before we get into the chart lesson, you can see the sideways action. Um, Once again, they took it up in the overnight. We just kind of chopped sideways after the opening before selling off and then kind of rallying late into the day here. That's kind of been the MO lately. So, but real quickly before we get started on the chart lesson, I'm back in the office today. I'm feeling better. Uh, this thing has been much bigger than what I expected. They told me they'd have some pain because of where it's at. I guess you have more nerve endings in your ear than you do some parts of your body. But I've been in a lot of pain the last few days, to be honest with you. And so I've been stuck at the house, not feeling like going anywhere, not really feeling like doing much um, until we get this thing. Uh, right now my ear is sewed to my head, and there's somewhat of a open wound there that's. I don't want to get too graphic or anything, but it continually oozes, and it's not very comfortable, and it's like the best way I can describe it is like hitting your thumb with a hammer, except it's on the side of your head. And I don't know if any of you has ever mashed your thumb, you know how that throbbing feels, and it's pretty painful. And there's nothing you can do to relieve it. And that's kind of the way my side of my head has been for the last 4 days or so here. And I just can't seem to get any relief. I do not like taking pain medications, although I have taken them all weekend. I've taken them only one or so a day, as little as I've had to, and it didn't seem to really help. So it just made me feel weird, and I just don't like the way I feel on those painkillers. So they're not really helping. The only thing I've had today is Tylenol, and I seem to be feeling better today as far as the pain goes, but just the nuisance of it, and I've got to be very careful not to touch it or bump it or hit it against anything. Just putting on my headphones here to do the chart lesson is uncomfortable. So, so I'm struggling a little bit, but so bear with me. But I'm planning on working this week. I did not trade today. Haven't traded in a week or so now. I probably won't. I may trade before this week's over, but the way I'm feeling right now, I'm probably not even going to trade. And if you haven't heard me say that before, it's probably a good point, a good time to mention it. Is that if you're not 100% there mentally, if you're sick or physically suffering or emotionally suffering, don't trade because it interferes with your trading, causes you to think differently, causes you to make mistakes. And so I always tell people never trade when you're not really up to it. And I know a lot of people just are eager to trade and they feel like they got to trade. And if they miss a trading day, it's the end of the world. And if you feel like that, you're probably not really quite there yet. This should feel like a job, and you should look forward to getting days off and taking a break. And I always know when I take a break and come back, I'm always so much more relaxed and I feel better and I'm rejuvenated. I'm ready to go again, and my trading takes off again. And so when you're not there 100% emotionally or mentally or physically, take those days off. And that's what I'm doing right now. It's just not worth it. If I needed the money, it's one thing, but then when you need the money, that puts more pressure on you, so it just makes it worse. And so my point of view is I'm not going to trade until I'm feeling up to it. And so maybe by the end of the week, probably first of next week before I'm going to trade again. But I did want to throw that out there that I haven't been trading the last few days, and I'm doing these chart lessons. I did watch the chart some today, so it's not like it's a cold chart for me like it would be if I was out and came in and did it at the end of the day or something. But it's not always the same. I don't always see it quite the same when I'm not trading it in real time and marking my chart up as I go. So it's a little bit different, but still everything's pretty much the same. You see these same trades where it's easier to see them after the fact, obviously, but you see them all the same, and the setups are all the same. So it doesn't really change anything as far as the chart listing goes. The trades are here. Um, Hopefully you're seeing the same trades I'm not. If you're not, hopefully you're close. And there'll always be one or two. One or two might look better on your chart, and another one or two might look better on my chart because tick charts aren't always 100% the same, and that's just part of the game. There's nothing we can do about that. So that really throws people because they want them to be like time-based charts where your chart looks exactly like mine, and that's impossible with tick charts. Just the way they form and the way they're counted, and it's just impossible to have them exactly the same. I'm actually amazed at how closely they do. We are able to keep them together lately with some of the changes they made in NT8. We can keep them a little closer than we used to could, but no two uh, tick charts will ever be exactly the same, most likely. So every now and then they're real close, but it's not a big deal. Just it all works out in the wash. So like I said, there may be one or two trades that look better on your chart that I wouldn't see on mine, and there might be one or two trades on my chart that look better than the ones on yours. So if you don't see a setup on your chart and you didn't see it in real time, don't fret it. Just study it, and if you see it show up on your chart next time, take it. But don't worry if your chart's not exactly like mine. It's impossible with tick charts. But anyway, let's get into the chart lesson. You can see it's just a range day. We're just chopping sideways. We opened much higher. There was a gap. Actually, I don't think there wasn't really a gap on the chart when we opened. We traded up and we did come back and test the closes. We actually went much lower. We've actually made two big legs down here, but and then we made another couple legs back up. But it's just a range day, a big sideways kind of range day overall. But anyway, here's the chart. Here's what it looks like. Let's zoom in here and go through the trades now. But our first trade was 7 o'clock came on this little two-legged correction here, and you can clearly see the trend working up, and you get this two-legged correction with a second entry with a perfect signal bar here, and there's a little bit of a little higher low right in there too, but it runs back. That's like a perfect setup right there. I like that setup. Then you get off this low, you get a first entry, second entry. So that's a failed second entry short there. Maybe you take that. You've already got your close outside this channel and a new high. Most of the time you get a second leg up, but sometimes you don't. So this, with this being uh, just a first entry, you wouldn't want to take it for that for sure. But if you see the failure, maybe you take that. Now that's a more advanced trade. Most of you probably should leave that alone, but something to consider right there. And then of course you make a new high, you pull back, and of course draw this trend line. It really got confirmed here too, but you know I like to see another confirmation before I really trust these secondary trend lines sometimes. And so you get another confirmation here, and then you get another one here. And this is another second entry. Notice the new high, first entry, pull back. When it breaks above there, it's a second entry. I like going long there as well. And then, of course, we move up and you just start chopping sideways. I don't see anything in there that's worth taking. Stay out of that, especially when it starts to get really tight over here like this. There's a triple test right there that's real tempting, but your secondary blue trend channel's in play there, and you just can't go short right there yet. It's just too early. And of course, it does move down. It kind of moves a measured leg and bounces, goes back up a measured leg. Then it kind of gets hung in the middle there, and finally you make a triple test and a lower high right here. And I like going short right there. You don't know that it's going to run off like this, so that's just like a freebie almost, because you're just looking to get a scalp back to at least the midline and maybe the lower end, but this thing just keeps going. So that was like a freebie. And if you catch that one trade, that's probably all you need for the day. You get a break, new low, and it looks like we're going to chop sideways, but we end up with a real weak downtrend here on a secondary channel again. And you can clearly see this channel working down. And of course, notice you got a new low there, and you get a first entry, second entry, and that does confirm that trend line on a second entry short. Lower high right there, but technically it's not a lower high off of this second entry, but you could almost look at that as like a triple test, but the signal bar is no good, so it doesn't matter anyway. Drops on down, you start working back, close outside, new high, and then you're going lower again. Now there's a second entry right there. I didn't like this one because I don't like the signal bar. If it was just a little bit bearish, or if yours looked a little bit better, by all means take that second entry right there. It looks like you possibly have a close outside here, but that one's so close that you could overlook it. And you can see that most of them probably did, but now you got a clear close outside and a new low, and then it reverses, and you basically get this big spike and channel up. You spike up into this channel, and it's not a real strong channel, but it's still an uptrend all the way into the close. And so notice you got this spike up, and then you get you get a close outside and two legs to a new high, and then you're just working sideways. Notice here you get a triple test, fairly decent signal bar. This one's real close to being green, but if it breaks above that and you've got room to that high side, it's probably going there. Just take it. There's a higher low here, but there's not as much room there, and I'm just a little less leery of, I'm more aware of taking that trade, even though it works and ends up working easily. You can't risk that. But we do break out and keep going high. I don't see anything in here that really catches my interest to go long there. Of course, we run up to the upper side, what turns out to be the upper side of the channel, and then we work back down. And I like this one. Notice that you basically made a double top, and then you try to go long once, you shoot through the EMA, you try to go long twice. And that's also a pullback to test that midline, and it fails. So that's a failure with plenty of room back to the trend line, even if it's valid. And if it's not valid, we may have a lot further short to go. And of course, it does bounce right off the trend line again. That was a fairly easy scalp, though. And you can see we're going above the EMA, below it, above it. As long as you're going above and below it, you can trade it both ways, even if it is an uptrend or a downtrend. We bounce off that trend line. No longs there. There's a higher low here. You can't treat that like a higher low. Prices have moved too far. Now, you do have a failure here, a failed second entry short after it pushes through the midline, which is what you would expect it to come back and test it and then go higher. So it breaks higher there. Maybe you go with it. Again, that's a little more advanced. And of course, Now you had your break and new high. It pretty much goes right to the other side of the trend channel. And it corrects back to the midline and just chops along that midline all the way, almost pretty much into the close. And we did close down slightly from where we were at one time trading there when we talked about it earlier in the chart list. So, yeah, you can see the volume and the volatility's really slowed way down. We used to get this much price action in half a day, it seems like. So, and this is a whole day's worth of trading here. So, maybe we're moving back to a more pre-COVID type market. We'll just have to see. In the big scheme of things, this is a range day. It looks really bullish on the intraday chart, or I'm sorry, on the daily chart. So it could be a bullish day, but to me, there's nothing screaming, hey, we're rallying here. This is just sideways action that closed on its high. Just mixed trading that closed on its high, or close to its high. So actually, let's go back and look at that daily chart one more time. And there it is. And you can see it doesn't quite look as bullish as it did, but that's still a fairly bullish day. But when you look at the bigger picture where we're just chopping sideways, it just looks like more sideways action. So it doesn't mean we can't get some follow through buying tomorrow and go higher, but it just doesn't look like we're about to rally out of here and go much higher. Although we could, because we're pretty much back to the midline here, and we are what have alleviated most of the overbought situation we were in. So we could bounce here and go higher. It doesn't feel that way, but again, if you just follow the channel here, we should make a retest of the high. So that means prices will probably go higher before it's over, before they turn down. So that's the most likely scenarios, that prices will go higher here. So my guess is they'll slowly chop higher, sideways to higher until we make a new high, and then we'll see where we go from there. That's kind of what I'm thinking, but it doesn't mean that's what's going to happen. But you can clearly see the sideways action there for this whole entire June contract. It's just been up and down, and it seems to be getting tighter here. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. Like I said, I'm going to be in all week. My schedule is going to be a little different. I may leave early and things like that, but I'm going to try to stay caught up. And I'm going to have some doctor's appointments and things like that. And so I'll be in and out. It's not going to be my usual, but I'm not going to be trading much either. So I'm going to use most of my time just to work on my email and work on answering questions in the forum, and just trying to get caught up on basics, really. So, and when I'm feeling good enough and ready to trade again, I'll let you know that I'm starting to trade again. But for now, I'm just kind of sitting on the sidelines waiting until I'm feeling better. So anyway, going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next.